I do. Hi, Kyle.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing well. My name is John. I'm a writer for Cinefied.com, and I understand I have about 10 minutes with you and talk about your really great film that I saw last week. And I wanted to start off with some stuff
Yeah, tell
that
me.
kind of puts into some perspective to get some context about why I love your film so much. So in 2 days, on Friday, I will retire after 22 years in the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah,
I
wow.
I have I have deployed to not to Afghanistan but to Iraq twice,
What years?
and I'm
Yeah, what years? Me too. What years were you there?
'05 and '07.
I was there in '07. Where were you?
I was out of Al Assad on Camp Ripper, and then I went out to Haditha and Al Qaim and all those fun places.
Those are those are terrible places. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was convoy security, and I was on the road every day, and we did some. I got out west a little bit, and but yes, I know Al Assad and all those places. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I will send
Yeah.
you a box of purple crayons for your retirement.
Oh man, you're too kind. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
if that's your favorite flavor. Yeah.
Yeah, that works for me. Um, and but so it follows. I'm actually on the backside of my grad school program for mental health counseling. That's what I'm going to do
Wow.
when I get out is be a mental health
Wow.
counselor. So this film, in so many ways, spoke to me. Plus, I had a great reference to MASH, which I grew up watching.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I love that. I'm like, this movie's made for me. Holy smokes!
Um,
So I only have a few questions for you. I do
yeah.
want to commend you. The film was fantastic. Everyone crushed it. Um, and I read some of the production notes, and I understand this is a very personal story. Obviously, I watched the end of the film too. I know this is a very personal story for you. And I read about the decision to make Merritt and Zoe female characters for the purpose of showing that female soldiers are they're still soldiers first and foremost,
Sure.
and to not just lump them into stereotypical roles or stories that we've seen many times over already. When was this decision made to make the main characters women, and why do you think that detail is so important?
It's a great question. I love that. The decision to make the leads female was one of the first three decisions I made about the movie before I had even written it. And I I knew, I guess the first thing is I knew that I wanted it to have humor because as you know, as a devil dog, that's part of our culture. And all of our movies are just can be so heavy and so stereotyped. So I knew that. I knew the title. It kind of just came to me, My Dead Friend Zoe. I thought that was a little punk rock and wouldn't feel like your typical like a soldier's journey, something like that. And then just that it had to be women because after the military and my journey to film school and graduating film school, for like the first 8 years of my filmmaking career, I had my own production company and I just kind of exclusively did veteran things. I did all of the VA's national advertising, a bunch of
Mhm.
big campaigns for them and nonprofits. And I did this campaign called MakeTheConnection.net, which you as a vet, if you don't know about it, you should check it out. It's a great website,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a catalog of, and I interviewed hundreds of veterans over the course of 4 years in literally every major city in the country, just
Mhm.
hundreds of them. And, half at least were women. And I, as a Army infantry guy, I didn't serve necessarily alongside women, so I just didn't have that experience. And so then in interviewing them, I was just completely blown away by all that they had done in their experiences downrange back home, whatever. And I just thought that, when I got the opportunity to make a film, it would definitely be about my story. It took me a long time to find the courage to tell my own veteran story because usually tell other people's. But I knew that it would be part my story, but then I wanted it to be other people's story as well. So yeah, it was a very early decision.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, I think you're right because I've met and worked with so many female Marines and soldiers actually. Um, and yeah, they have, I know many female Marines that have Purple Hearts and combat action ribbons, and they've done all these great things, and they should be acknowledged and they should be seen. And I really appreciate that, they were females, but it's not because they were women, you
Well,
know.
and that's what I worked hard for too. And I again, as a vet, you would appreciate this. Like I mean, in a lot of ways, we're people are different or unique from each other, but in so many other ways, we're all just the same. One of the things that I love and miss about the military is that it is just a melting pot, and you're just your last name and your rank, and so I just worked hard to have the Merritt and Zoe. They're just soldiers. They're not female soldiers. They're just
Mhm.
soldiers, and we don't get
Right.
into anything like that. And the way that they talk shit with the other soldiers, and then when these people talk shit to them, they just kind of give it right back. And yeah, it almost transcends gender in that way. They are just who they are.
Yeah, that was a great scene when they're doing the guard shift
Mhm.
for security. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
how we talk.
yeah, that's right.
Marines too.
Right.
Um, so this film tackles mental health very well, I would say, having studying the stuff right now. And you had that beautiful scene at like the 1 hour pivot with Meredith and Dale on the pontoon boat. I loved that scene, dude.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. And they're trading war stories and talking about PTSD and older terms like shell shock. And many military movies kind of get thrown into this vortex where it's all or seemingly is propaganda,
Yeah.
even when it's about coming home and dealing with like reintegration. This film, I think, smartly sidesteps the glory of war and focuses less on military like pomp and circumstance.
Yes.
Was there ever a concern to have to maneuver around being put into that propaganda vortex?
Honestly, not really, because we veterans, as you know, rarely get the opportunity to write or direct our own stories. The idea of a soldier or Marine being this archetype, it's been in stories since as long as stories have been around. So, like, I do acknowledge that it's a trope and it's there for a reason, but this is really a film about veterans, and it's not a war story, and there's no real combat or action, and it's not a film that's going to be triggering in that way. And so I think I no, I actually wasn't concerned because I knew, especially because this was an indie film and I had great partners who believed in the script from the very beginning. It was like we're going to do it our way. And yeah, I also just really wanted to explore something that I don't think I have ever really seen depicted or talked about too much, is that we veterans are not a monolith. People like to think we are. I know other communities out there feel like they're just lumped together. But then specifically, we're Iraq, Afghanistan veterans, and then there are Vietnam veterans, and we have similarities, but we're also very different. And like our experiences coming home were different. And yeah, I keep having talked to a lot of Vietnam veterans. I keyed in on a very, very subtle thing of almost like a sadness or a pain or a resentment that here you and I are going to Applebee's every Veterans Day for your $5 off, and people say thank you for your service, but that was not the case for my grandfather. And so, like,
Right.
what does that feel like? So I thought there was a really interesting schism there.
Yeah, I think you captured that beautifully, like the dichotomy between Dale and with Merritt and that generational gap. And overall, it ties into that moment, that pivotal scene, but also overall in the film. And again, I was looking at it through the lens of a veteran, and there's a lot of authenticity there. So and I felt like you smartly sidestepped all the propaganda that could be like, beat your chest. We're going to war, boys. Let's saddle up. Like all that
Totally,
nonsense was not
totally,
there, and I loved that.
totally.
Um, and
Appreciate that. That means a lot coming from that. Yeah,
and that's coming not from a film critic, but from a veteran. Like
yeah.
I saw myself in that movie, and I'm not in the army, so
Yeah, I had Marines in there, and I even
you did, yeah,
I
yeah.
had a James in there, and I actually specifically made that character a grad student because Marines are some of the smartest people that I know, even though I we all like to talk shit. But
Sure, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, I know. That's half the fun.
that's right.
Um, I have a few more. I'll see how
Yeah,
many
no,
more
keep
questions.
going.
Okay.
Actually, I think Adam will keep us honest, but I don't rarely get to talk to other veterans, so yeah, let's go as long as we can.
Okay, great. I only have two more for you. This film is valuable for many reasons, and I kind of want to, if you can, simply ask you to kind of in your own quick words, why is the Dead Friend format so powerful, and what impact do you think it will have? Like, as far as contextualizing what Merritt's going through, why is using the Dead Friend format the way to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, the trope or the device of a dead friend, really, I don't actually necessarily want to say that it means one thing or another, because I kind of intentionally crafted it to be open to interpretation. But I think one interpretation for me of Zoe is this manifestation of my survivor's guilt around the loss of various friends, but one in particular. And in this case, it actually isn't always or necessarily traumatic or off-putting. If anything, it's the opposite. It was comforting. It's this idea that when I came back from war and I was doing my own PTSD stuff, a part of me didn't really want it to necessarily go away. The VA and everybody tells us we can heal you, and you take a pill or whatever. But it's almost like to do that is gonna put to death this part of you. And so in a weird way, your PTSD, or for Merit, and like it was for me, this kind of like mourning of somebody that you've lost, to fully quote get over that means that they just aren't there anymore. Maybe that's not right, but sometimes it feels that way. And so that's kind of why I chose that device, that I thought was going to be just universal to a lot of people, where whether it's somebody that you've lost, this film is not only for veterans or military. I actually think, I mean, it's 100% for everybody. I think military and veterans are going to feel very seen by it, but every person out there is going to relate to this film because they've lost someone, and or even a pet. I love animals 1,000%, and just like to yeah, to like quote make your peace with it and move on. Does that mean that you're kind of like forgetting about them? And if they were still here and they could talk to you, what would they say? If that painful memory, even though it's painful, it would probably stand up for itself, and it would probably say, let's talk, let's hang out, let's just like old times. And so yeah, I just thought there was something really, really messy about that. And I thought, it would be a great way to explore the subject matter.
Yeah, I think it worked really well. They say that we are who the company we keep,
Yep.
and like when you let that person go and you get over it or you heal, it's like one, healing's not linear, but also are you sacrificing a part of yourself by
Yep.
letting that person go? And you're right, that's ubiquitous. And that's not, it's not exclusive to the military and veterans,
Yeah.
but it does apply heavily to this population. I would say. I have
What-
one more question for you,
yeah.
and thank you so far. This has been a
Oh, this is
fantastic
great,
interview.
John. Oh yeah.
Um, and sidebar before my last question, I actually did some volunteer work. I used to be an instructor at Fort Meade,
Okay.
and we did some volunteer work at the Mission Continues.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And
Cool that
I
you
haven't
said.
touched that. I haven't been in that program in a while, but I really enjoyed it. It was a great network of people. And so,
You should think about dropping back in. I'm sure there's a platoon wherever you live, and
mhm.
do some stuff. I always feel super filled up by it. I do that. I do Team Rubicon. I think it's great.
Yeah, but my point of that sidebar was just like letting you know that that call to action you kind of have at the end with all the organizations listed up. Like, we need more of this, because it's not enough for like the young troop to look at the read board in the hallway of the company office and he's like, yeah, 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 whatever. Because they'll see that kind of stuff, but they don't, it doesn't mean anything to them.
Well,
And just kind of,
and John, one of the things I think maybe what I'll do too is I'm going to have Adam circle back. I'm going to share a clip with you that shows what the theatrical end credits look like. They're actually different. We just added a really cool thing. So we've added a special video message to the end credits that has a
oh,
QR code and a impact film pay it forward message from me and Saniqua, Natalie, and Ed. So people in theaters, if they want to share the film, if they want to like say buy a ticket for a veteran, or just share the film, or learn more about our three impact partners, boom, QR code right there. So it's like very very tangible. Yeah, we're like adding impact to the end.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
What a great idea.
yeah, I'm
Um,
stoked. Yeah.
and so my last question is kind of like sort of off topic, but it comes back to your filmmaking and your filmmaking genesis. So I read about the production in the production notes that you, while you weren't formally trained because you were 11 Bravo, right? That you were just kind of also like the token Hollywood guy, and you would take photos
That
at.
was literally my call sign. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So I'm actually combat camera by trade.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
So you went
I was,
to Dinfos.
yeah, and I taught at Denfos. That's why I was at Fort Meade.
Okay.
I taught there for 4 years, and so my question was like, did you interact with any comic cameramen? If you did, did you like trade notes? Did you like ask questions? Did you get to check out the gear? If not, that's fine. I was curious because I know combat camera were always out on the front lines. At least the Marine Corps was. Um,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. While I was in the military, I don't think I ever came across a combat camera person, at least not in a meaningful way, other than maybe I saw them out downrange or something like that. But I guess
mhm.
the answer to that is no, I didn't. And I, of course, would have been super curious because I was always doing stuff like on the side, underneath the radar. I thought I was going to get in trouble. Um, I mean, it's part of my origin story of how I got here is I would make these airborne videos of our jumps and then cut them. Maybe you probably read about that where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I will say that a combat camera person has been very meaningful for me in my life. There's a guy named Mike Moriatis. He is the unit stills photographer for this movie. So the photos that we're going to send you, and they're beautiful. He's Air Force turned Navy. He was combat camera. I've known him for 20 years. He's worked on every single one of my projects. And we talk so much shit. It's so much fun. And yeah, he's just another example of a vet who really just took his skills directly into the entertainment industry. And his photos are the poster of the movie,
Yeah.
so there you go. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, dude, this has been fantastic. I
Great.
really enjoyed speaking with you. I really enjoyed your movie. I told my Marines, I told my buddies, like, hey, this is a film we should check out. You all should check out when it comes out.
Please do, John. And I can tell you this too, so this is a super indie film. No, made it outside of Hollywood, no studio, no streamer. We raised this money from grassroots. Legion M is one of the main production company, and so we raised $100 at a time, $1,000 at a time. Um, but then so we just need people to see it in theaters because we have a bill to pay, and it's like we also just want to send a message to Hollywood that like people will see movies that aren't just retreads of tentpole things, and so yeah, I'm planning to tell the veteran community send a fuck you to Hollywood and see this movie in theaters. And so we can get more veteran stories and get more veterans in the director chair.
Yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
Great call to action.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
film.
Fuck you, right? That's a good call.
Yeah,
That's something veterans will
dude,
respond to.
dude,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm on board, man. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Kyle, man, thanks so much for the interview and for your time and for your great film and best of luck going forward, man.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
All right.